All right, what's up, wrestling world? So we all woke up this morning to the news of the passing of one of the greats, Terry Bollea, better known to the wrestling world as Hulk Hogan. Whether you like this man or you hate this man, there's no denying that this was a shock. We knew that everybody knew he had health issues over the better part of the last 3 years, but I don't think any of us thought he was going to die or pass away anytime soon. We all thought Hogan was one of them guys like Ric Flair that would live a very long time. You know, that would live well into their 90s or even to 100. So this is a shock. Also, we all know that Hogan was a racist. You know, and was a Trump supporter. Because of that, people want to hate him. I know at the Netflix special, when they first debuted on Netflix, he got booed. And a lot of that is just because of who he supports. Now, I don't like the whole bringing politics into someone's death, but that's all I'm going to say about that. So, little history lesson before you go any further. Obviously, Hogan first debuted in November of 1979. Hogan first debuted in November of 1979 as, I believe, Terry Hogan Boulder. Vince later changed his name to Hulk Hogan. We got the Hulkamania. So through all the 80s, early 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, and a couple years in the first in the 90s, we got, you know, Hulk Hogan. Hogan was the guy. He was the top guy in WWF. I think Ted DiBiase originally put him over and made him a star, and then Andre Giant fully passed the torch to Hogan back in the late 80s, right before, you know, Andre retired and then passed away later on in life after that. And passed away a few years, I don't know how many, a handful of years later that Andre Giant passed away after he passed the torch to Hogan. No matter what your feelings on this man are, yes, we all know he's racist towards the black people, but I choose to focus on what he did in the wrestling world. He didn't murder anybody. He didn't commit a major crime. He made some really stupid comments towards a race of people that he shouldn't have, and he paid for that. He got booed, and he paid for that ever since. And by supporting Trump, he got booed. But yeah, with all that being said, if it wasn't for this man, wrestling wouldn't be where it is today. When somebody asked me my Mount Rushmore, Hulk Hogan's going to be always the first name. Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair are going to be the first two names I put on that list. In my mind, these will forever be the two greatest wrestlers that ever graced a squared circle. And the reason why wrestling is what it is today. Now, I don't have respect for him being a racist, but I do have all the respect in the world for him as a performer. I give you that history lesson to say this. We're talking about a man who from 1979 to basically 93 was the guy in WWF. It was WWF at the time. He would then leave in 93 to do movies, and he did a couple TV shows, I think. Well, he would debut in WCW in 1994. He would go on to be a 6-time WCW heavyweight champion in WCW. He still holds the longest title reign for WCW. He still holds the longest title reign for WCW as WCW heavyweight champion at one point. Then he would eventually leave, and I think for a couple years, he would come back in 1996. He went back to WWE for a little while, I think, or WWF. Did some movies, went back to WWF. He at one point came back, and they did the whole Outsiders thing, and we got the NWO. He would come back in 1996 at Bash in the Beach as Hollywood Hulk Hogan as the Hill. He would attack WCW, and he said, "This, you can call this the New World Order. For those of you who don't like it, you can shove it or stick it." And a lot of people still stuck with him because they like the Hill. I like the Hill character. I had a black NWO shirt. I love the Hill character. At one point, I had a Hollywood Hogan shirt. And then, as we all know, WCW would go under, whatever. WWE would buy it, and off and on for a few years, Hogan would come and show up in WWE. At one point, over the 4th of July SmackDown weekend one year, I can't remember the exact year, but he would win the WWE Tag Team Championships with Edge, which was pretty cool. And Edge always says how that's a highlight of his career for him. Then in 2005, Hogan would be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as a solo performer. And then again in 2020, he'd be inducted with the NWO, which, in my mind, along with Shoulder, two of the greatest factions that ever graced a wrestling world. So, whether you love him or hate him, Hogan gave us... Hulk Hogan is one of them guys that gave us a ton of memories to remember him by. A ton of videos, stuff on Peacock that you probably go back and watch. If you still own DVD players or Blu-ray players, you probably go buy a DVD of Hogan. But he gave us some memories. He is the reason wrestling is what it is today. No matter, like I said, no matter what, if you love him or hate him, the guy was still a human being and didn't deserve to be treated the way he got treated. Why? Because he supports Donald Trump? I feel like this day we hinge on too much on who celebrities and actors and musicians and athletes support. I don't give a Ryan flying rat's butt who they support. I don't care if somebody supported Kamala Harris. I'm not going to hate them because they support them. If I'm going to hate or dislike somebody, hate somebody, it's going to be for a reason, because they committed a crime, or maybe they sold narcotics to a kid, or they SA'd somebody, or they raped somebody, or they unalived somebody. I'm not going to hate him for being a racist. Yeah. Should he have been that way? No, nobody should be that way. But I just want to simply say thank you to Hogan for the many years of memories. I think anybody that's 40 to 67 years old that's a wrestling fan, when Hogan was big time in the 80s and 90s, we were all in the early 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s. Most of us were still in junior high, high school. We had the cheesy looking Hulk Hogan Hulkamania jacket or Hulkamania shirts, or the armbands that he wore, or the Hulkamania headband. And we went around saying, eat your prayers and say your vitamins, brother, and what you gonna do? And we'd pump up our muscles and copy and go, what you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you? We all did that. We all loved him. And over the years, Hogan did some things, said some things, basically became a racist, or was a racist. We found that out. We started disliking him for it. Do I have respect for him because no, I lost some respect for him. But I am a fan of Hulk Hogan. Always have been, always will be, no matter what. Unless he killed somebody, which he didn't. But I will always be a fan of Hulkamania. Now, people thought I hated him, but I said I didn't hate him. I just hate the fact that WWE used him like they do with Undertaker and Goldberg, as a nostalgia act. Let the future take over now. It's the future's time. Not these older guys that are in their 70s, retired, and should not be doing anything. But if they want to be an announcer, fine. They want to be a manager, that's fine. But to use them as an active wrestler sometimes, I don't like it whatsoever. But I just want to say to the family and friends of Terry Bollea, a.k.a. Hulk Hogan, may he rest in peace. My thoughts and prayers are with you. Rest in power. Rest easy, Hulk Hogan. Rest in power, Hulk Hogan. You're up in the wrestling. You're up in heavens, in the wrestling ring up in heaven. I hope you're giving the Sheik Daddy. I hope you're giving Sheik Baby a whooping up there right now. I know you two are going to be battling it out up there for supremacy up in heaven. But, rest easy, Hulk Hogan. Until we all meet again one day. Hulkamania forever. And remember, folks, I'll just say this. Say your prayers and eat your vitamins. And remember, heaven, what you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you? Rest easy, Hulk Hogan. Thoughts and prayers to his family and friends.